Do you know over 85% of the New Testament in the Bible has nothing to do with Jesus? Not a word, not a dash, dot, zilch, nada, nothing.
And by nothing to do with Jesus, she means it doesn't directly quote Jesus.
So there's a Bible called the Red Letter Bible, and anything that Jesus specifically, personally said is highlighted in red, right? The New Testament has 27 books, and 23 of them don't even contain a single quote from Jesus.
Maybe I'm being too picky, but Revelation and Acts both directly quote Jesus, and 1 Corinthians quotes Jesus. So your math is off there.
It's actually scary how black this text is looking. And yet, people say that this book is the book of Jesus. How can they say the Bible is the book of Jesus when he didn't write it and there's barely any quotes from him?
So just because the rest of the New Testament, besides the Gospels, part of 1 Corinthians, Revelation, and Acts, doesn't directly quote Jesus, doesn't mean it's not about Jesus. In fact, we find that almost every letter in some way refers to Jesus in some way, whether it be as an example or as a direct theological point about who he is and what they're to believe about him. In fact, many of the church's letters from Paul, Peter, Jude were written to either establish further what the gospel is, which is about Jesus, or establishing how the church should be living and functioning, which is based upon the love of Christ and how he lived. So it's still all about Jesus. The entirety of the New Testament in some way is focused on Jesus. Now, it doesn't mean that every square inch directly refers to Jesus, like when he's talking about, two people having quarrels, but then you can still see how the love of Christ is at play in the focus when it's saying that they shouldn't be quarrelsome. So it's indirect, but just because people say it's the book of Jesus or it's about Jesus doesn't mean that every single word must be directly quoting Jesus. It's just saying that it's all about Jesus. It's about Christ and who he is, who we are supposed to be.